Whenever an anime adaptation of a manga is announced, you'll often see the same concerns repeated by manga fans. Whether it will be faithful, whether it's being handled by a good studio or director, or whether it'll do the manga justice. That's the thing when it comes to adaptations. It's not only about your own enjoyment, but wanting other people to experience the same story you did and become just as in love with it. Nobody wants something they're obsessed with to be handled poorly, and selfishly, let's be honest, you don't want others to think you were into trash either. But an opinion you see a lot more nowadays, likely due to anime becoming more accessible and mainstream, is the idea that manga is somehow a lesser form of art compared to its animated counterpart. Until a manga is adapted, some people view it as unfinished, or as though it hasn't reached its full potential. Manga and the beautiful art within it are respected in their own right, but are ultimately treated as mere storyboards for the anime, as though these stories are somehow stuck in manga form. Now, I don't think the TikToker I'm using as an example here made that post with malicious intent, and yet I think that in itself reflects a different issue, as implying a manga is stuck insinuates that anime is an inevitable, that it's a butterfly still inside a cocoon that hasn't fully emerged and shown its truest form, which is a total disservice to manga as a whole. An anime adaptation, or any adaptation, couldn't exist without the source material in the first place. And that isn't to say you can't favour an anime over its manga. For instance, I prefer The Land of the Lustrous anime to its manga, yet I don't treat the manga itself as something lesser in regards to art. And I'm also not saying you can't be excited for your favourite manga to receive an adaptation. Animation is a magical thing, as are all other things an anime can bring, like music, voice acting, etc, etc. I'm not saying wishing for an adaptation is wrong, there's plenty I'm hoping for myself, but treating manga as lesser than anime is, to me, the real issue. The truth is, a great adaptation isn't one that completes a manga, or even copies it panel for panel. It's one that understands what made people fall in love with the original in the first place, and finds new ways to express those same emotions through a different medium. Don't get me wrong, I understand why people want faithful adaptations. Nobody wants the story they fell in love with to wind up as something completely different. But I don't think a panel-for-panel recreation should always be the end goal either. Part of the fun of adaptations is seeing what new artists and creatives can bring to material that already exists. Obviously, it can be a bummer when a favourite scene or a moment you've always been looking forward to doesn't make it into the anime, but adaptations sometimes have to make those difficult choices. That doesn't necessarily mean they didn't want to include those moments. Sometimes it's simply the reality of adaptations. Artistic direction isn't only about deciding what to add, but understanding what to leave out as well, especially given how different the pacing of anime can be from manga. As long as an adaptation understands what makes the original special, while still taking advantage of the strengths unique to animation, then I'm all for creating something that complements the manga rather than trying to replace it. And I think the Witch Hat Atelier anime adaptation is the perfect example to have this discussion with. I adored this adaptation. I think Bug Films did a tremendous job adapting a manga that, by all means, is known for pushing the medium to its limits and showcasing what comics can do that no other medium can, most notably, its paneling. Rather than trying to imitate techniques that are inherently unique to comics, the adaptation instead leans into the things anime can bring to the table. You've got the obvious additions, animated movement itself, voice acting, musical scores, and of course, colour. But one of the biggest differences between manga and anime is the concept of time, specifically pacing. When watching an anime, time is largely controlled by the creative team. They'll decide how long a shot lasts, whether it's one that sits with the audience for a while, or one that elevates the action into something more bombastic and jaw-dropping. Meaning most viewers are experiencing the story at roughly the same pace, because that's just how animation works, unless you're one of those demons who watches at 2x speed. Manga, on the other hand, doesn't follow that same principle. A mangaka can control pacing through panel flow. Having more panels on one page, for instance, intentionally makes you move through them far quicker than a full-page illustration will. And the page turn itself is a comic technique that can completely alter the pacing of your reading experience. The same goes for the presentation of text itself, both in the original Japanese release and in translation. which at Atelier's English letterer Liz Blakesley has even received awards for her work, showing just how much those decisions can affect the reading experience. Ultimately, readers still control the pace. You can stop, go back, or spend 5 minutes admiring a single illustration and all the tiny details hidden within it. I know I did for this specific scene, probably one of my all-time favourites. But another great example of this, and one that regularly leaves me gawking in awe, is the panelling, as I referenced earlier. Scenes like characters lying on a panel, interacting with them, or even the beautiful borders on some pages is something only comics can achieve. And that's why manga pages shouldn't be seen as storyboards for anime. You can't replicate that magic, literally. And Shirahama Kamome certainly wasn't applying those techniques simply because she expected them to one day be animated, which at Atelier was always intended to be a manga. And many of the qualities that made people fall in love with it are inseparable from the medium itself. Which is why it was such a relief to hear that the team at Bug Films, particularly director Ayuma Watanabe, seemed to completely understand that philosophy. In an interview, he explained that the manga contains a lot of information, so we didn't want to use the anime adaptation as an excuse or reason to overly abstract what the manga is doing and simplify what the essence is. And Shirahama herself has spoken about communicating with the studio, showing how she imagined certain visuals in her head, given insights and references to the animation team. And that's why the adaptation works, despite the immense pressure of living up to the moments and visuals that first captured so many readers. The animator's job isn't to copy every panel perfectly onto the screen. The manga can absolutely serve as a guide, but not something that needs to be replicated exactly. Instead, Bug Films focused on the things anime could bring to the table, that the manga couldn't whilst respecting the source material. Take the opening sequence, for example. It's just so beautiful and captures Shirahama's composition so well. Or the paper-cut pop-up book sequences that feel so inspired by the handmade quality of her artwork. Some scenes even incorporated her distinctive hatching style, which I found super impressive. Episode 5 alone is probably one of my favourite anime episodes in general, expanding what was originally a 4-panel scene of Kifuri saving the girls from the dragon into a stunning and beautifully fluid action sequence that defines the term aura farming. Even the smaller, more heartfelt additions were beautiful to me as well, especially the flashbacks between Coco and her mom that reinforce how much her mom influenced her craftsmanship from such a young age, which later becomes so important when Coco begins learning magic. They're only small scenes, but they're just so genuine, honestly had me teary-eyed. They help emphasise the guilt and worry Coco should be feeling only days after her mother's petrification, whilst also reminding us just how much love existed between them, something that, if I'm being completely honest, I feel is somewhat missing from the manga. And honestly, I can't think of a better relationship to expand upon than Coco and her mom's, because their bond is quite literally the catalyst for the entire story. Visuals aside, there's so many reasons to be excited for an adaptation outside of the obvious, but I wasn't waiting for Witch at Atelier to finally become good. The manga already is phenomenal, and if anything, the anime just makes me want to reread it for the 50th time. There's a difference between being excited for what an adaptation adds, and being excited because you think an adaptation fixes something. One assumes the original already had value, the other assumes it didn't. But what an anime can give manga readers is the opportunity to hear our favourite characters. After spending years reading Witch at Atelier, finally hearing Coco, Kifuri, and everyone else brought to life has strangely been emotional. And the English dub for the anime? Oh man, I want all of those guys to receive any and all awards that come their way. They deserve their flowers.
You will tell no one, not a soul.
Tell me, Coco, what did you draw?
Tell me, Coco, what spell did you draw?
Line from Joshua Waters has been stuck in my head for months. The emotion this cast has poured into the dub has resulted in some of my favourite performances in anime in general.
It's sublime. I must say it is.
And not only that, but most of the cast have regional accents, which is super rare for dubs. Hearing a Yorkshire accent in an anime is something I never imagined I'd experience.
Didn't you read the warning on the door? The point of it is to keep people out.
Outside of the voice acting, you also have the music, which I'm genuinely upset I can't play because of copyright issues. But getting Yuka Kitamura, best known for Dark Souls 2 and 3, Bloodborne and Elden Ring, to compose the soundtrack for Witcher Atelier still feels unreal to me. She's one of my favourite composers when it comes to dark fantasy music, and the score she created for this series is just absolutely beautiful. And to top it all off, having Eve perform the opening theme, just win after win. Both choices perfectly capture the fantastical nature of Witcher Atelier, whilst also preserving the warmth and homeliness at the heart of the story. And the same is true of the more grounded, earthy colour palette. For years, Witcher Atelier existed in black and white, with only occasional colour illustrations giving us hints as to how this world looked. So finally seeing the choices Bug Films made for the colours of the magic, environments, and characters has been fascinating. Even more so in the episode focused on Tata's Silverwash syndrome. I think the manga already did a fantastic job of conveying what his disability looks like from his perspective, but by contrasting that with the colours present throughout the rest of the episode in the anime, the show was able to use colour in a way that black and white manga naturally can't. But perhaps the biggest and admittedly cheesiest benefit extends beyond the anime itself. It's seeing a story you love reach a whole new audience, that you see more fan merch and discussions online. But the biggest thing for me is seeing more people discover Shirahama's work in general. Long before there was an anime, I'd already fallen in love with her artwork. I've collected the manga, hunted down special editions, picked up her other series, bought her Pokemon cards, although I still can't get the Glaceon card because of scalpers, and even tracked down the Star Wars covers she illustrated. Marvel and DC Comics I still need to get around to, but whatever. And none of that was bought because I was waiting for the day somebody animated her work. I wanted to support because the work itself already meant something to me. Which is why the idea that manga is somehow a lesser version of what the story could eventually become has always felt upsetting to me. Not because I think anime is somehow lesser, but because it feels like we're accidentally overlooking the people who created these stories in the first place. I mean, there's plenty of manga that don't receive an anime adaptation at all. If anime is considered the final or better form, then you'd have to argue that huge parts of manga history never reached their full potential, which isn't true at all. Shirahama didn't spend years pouring unbelievable amounts of care into manga pages because she was producing storyboards. She created a complete work of art, something that people all over the world had already fallen in love with long before Bug Films ever touched the series. Ultimately, I'm just happy more people are discovering an artist I've admired for years, because Shirahama's work deserves to be celebrated, whether people discover it through the manga or through the anime. I mean, ultimately the best result is people watching the anime and then being convinced to go back and read the manga. That's the true end goal and something I really hope happens. But you can appreciate both versions of Witch Hat for what they are. A beautiful manga created by Shirahama Kamome, and a beautiful anime created by the team at Bug Films. Neither needs to diminish the other because artists deserve to have their work appreciated for what it already is. Hey guys, thanks for watching to the end of the video. As always, I want to give a massive shout out to everyone on Patreon or on my YouTube memberships for helping support the channel. As always, it's always a massive help, especially if this video comes up under issues in the future, but it also helps me pay for new things. Like I literally have this new camera and new microphone. I don't know if you can even see my logo on it, which is pretty cool. I needed an update. This allows iLog, I'm literally looking at myself on the camera, because I'm hopefully looking to create a second channel which is more talking to the camera kind of vibe, more chill, not anywhere near as edited as this main channel is. So hopefully you can expect more stuff from me as well outside of my main channel. As for this video, I've wanted to cover this topic for a while. I just didn't know which anime/manga it was going to be on. Witch Hat seems the best fitting choice for this topic. It could have been any, really, but for Witch Hat in particular, especially given the paneling video I've made, if you scroll through the comments of that video, you'll see the amount of people that commented like, I don't know how they're going to animate this. Well, Bug Films did. They animated it. I think it's personally a great anime. I'm really hoping that they announce a season 2 pretty soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. But I think for a manga that literally does achieve the best of what comics can offer, or manga can offer. It then makes sense to talk about how it translated that into the anime, into motion, or whether it just didn't do it at all. So I thought Witch Hat was the best choice there, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video too. The next video is going to be on a manga I've wanted to cover for quite some time now, so I'm really looking forward to covering it. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.